Welcome back. You're watching KTN Business Today, and we want to talk matters to do with conservation now. And one of the big issues that Kenya is currently facing is the rapid rising numbers of people coming to the urban cities, and this has put pressure on existing resources. One of the main resources that is an increasingly perishable commodity is water, and we want to get a perspective on where we are as a country, and we want to bring on board Julius Kamau, who is the Executive Director at the East African Wildlife Society. Many thanks, Mr. Kamau, for joining us.
Thank you so much for hosting me.
And from a conservation point of view, Kenya currently boasts of having the Mau Forest, which is a major water catchment area. And just walk us through where the Mau Forest replenishing project has reached so far.
All right. First of all, is to appreciate that Kenya, we are so much blessed when we talk about the issues of forest, and we have critical ecosystems. One of them is, as you mentioned, Mau Forest. We have other four, water catchment areas like the Abadeas, Elgon, Cherangani, and Mount Kenya. And these are very critical ecosystems. However, in the recent times, there are a bit of pressure regardless of the importance of this ecosystem, a lot of pressure from the human growth population, from development, and from people getting their livelihood around these areas. But yet, we have no choice than to conserve them because they are very, very critical. And that's why I think, in essence, the Constitution of Kenya today commits the country to drive its forest cover to 10%. It's after the recognition of this important role they do play. And we have, as a country, have to move towards that. Currently, we are at 7%. I think we need to move to the 10%, and actually more than 10%.
All right. And according to the United Nations, it projects that by 2050, half of Africa's population will be living in urban cities or the capital cities. What implication does this have on natural resources?
This has an implication because once you know that the land is limited, it cannot grow. The human population are growing. So we're going to experience a lot of pressure in terms of land resources. And again, these people have to be serviced and have to be served, both in terms of water provision. They have to be moved around. They have to go to work. And therefore, we presume there will be a lot of infrastructural development. And the country, not only Kenya, even in the region, they're in the transition economy. They want to go to the middle-level income. That comes with in terms of demand for development. And therefore, it puts this country in a very interesting time where you have very many competing goals between development and environmental conservation. And therefore, that's an issue that we have to continue dialoguing and speaking to each other on how best can we develop, but yet be able to ensure environmental integrity. Because if we don't, then even what we are developing will also not be sustainable. So we have to have that conversation. Yeah.
Speaking about environmental integrity, right now we're seeing the government is executing a number of projects in the water sector. We have the Twake Dam, we have the Bosto Dam in Bomet County, and all these sort of geared towards improving water security and ensuring that residents have access to water. But in real essence, we know that there's been a lot of hue and cry about the proposed dam in Bomet, that is the Bosto Dam. Perhaps what are the objections that have been raised, and why shouldn't the project take off as it should be?
I think that's have been one of our strongest area because we feel basically we are not against the development. But in everything that we do as a country, we must do it in the due process of the law. That has to be followed as per the Constitution. We also must appreciate the issue of participation of the public in every decision that is being made. And I think also we have to respect the other laws that do exist. For example, the Bosto Dam, before it is constructed, of course, it is required by law that an environmental impact assessment is done. And that was done. But again, the public participation was compromised. For example, I remember it's required by law that NEMA has to go into the press and announce the public to submit their comments 30 days. This time, NEMA did go to the public and the newspaper and printed this, inviting comments from the public. But that didn't happen. The report was not made available to the public until only after 20 days. When we raised a voice with NEMA and they were able to upload that document into on the website, that tells you that people didn't have the full 30 days as required by law. They only had 10 days. How much can you do within 10 days? As much as that was not enough, when public, and including ourselves, we submitted our comments objecting why we don't believe the dam should be built inside the forest. And those comments were not taken on board. And therefore, NEMA went ahead and issued a license. And legally, that means that the National Water Conservation and Pipeline Corporation has a right to go ahead and doing the dam. But we are saying that is not a very good decision. Reason being, the Kenyan policy today does not allow any construction to go ahead in a protected area. As you know, Mao as a forest is a protected area. And therefore, there shouldn't even be a debate of even having a dam inside the forest. The unfortunate bit is that the EIA report, which is supposed to inform NEMA in making an objective decision, itself was erroneous. For example, it said that the dam will be about 18 kilometers or 12 kilometers and 3 kilometers from the edge of the forest. But the true fact is that the dam actually, coordinates shows it will be inside the forest. Therefore, that document to us does not stand to be used by or led by any government entity to make a decision. Beyond that, you know that the National Water Tower Agency and the Kenya Forest Service are the legally mandated body, corporate body, to be able to be the custodian of forest. And therefore, for even another state corporation to actually propose a dam without informing these other organs of the government, to us, we feel that is not correct. Because as we speak, Kenya Forest Service has not been informed formally. They were not involved in the EIA process. Neither was the National Water Tower Agency. Neither was the National Art Commission. How then can we proceed with such kind of a development? So we feel public participation was not done in the right way. And we believe by having it inside the forest is against the law.
All right. Yeah. And of course, this is an issue that we cannot exhaust because one of the people that is supposed to be mentioned, has actually been mentioned, is not present to refute or validate your concerns. But moving forward, really, what needs to be done differently towards ensuring we do proper impact assessments and avoid environmental degradation? It's
purely for the law. The law says ensure there is public participation. And I think it's not harmful for any state agency like NEMA, who are strategically being there to protect the environment. They're supposed to be the voice of environment, like we do. So in essence, we should be on the same side, not on the other side. And I think what we are promoting for going forward is a meeting, a stakeholder meeting with the Minister of Environment, with the Kenya Forest Service, National Tower Agency, and also the proponent of development. I think that conversation is very good because then we should be able to chart the way forward. But I think as we speak, our position is very clear. Dam inside the forest is not an option. And even if it was outside the forest, a lot of hydrological assessment has to be done. Remember, you can dam water in Bomet. I agree, it will serve about 600,000 people. It is okay. But remember, there are also other people downstream that are depending on the rivers, 12 rivers that come from Mau, including the river that go through the Mara, which is the Mara River, supporting agriculture, livelihood. And even it's a transboundary issue because that water actually go and find its way in Tanzania and talk about the Serengeti ecosystem. So any development has to be conscious about the impact it would cause to the livelihood of people who are downstream and to their livelihood and to agriculture generally. So I think that's why we need to go for a wider consultation so that whatever decision is made, it is actually sustainable and doesn't compromise the interests of other people.
All right. Many thanks, Julius Kamau, Executive Director, East Africa Wildlife Society, just talking to us in relation to matters to do with conservation. And indeed, this remains a topic up for further interrogation, especially that we are yet to hear from NEMA as well as the Bomet County in relation to this, but we shall definitely be pushing the agenda further.